Hey everyone, I know this video is a bit late, and based on the feedback from some of you on my previous video, I know you guys wanted me to make more videos on this car as I'm restoring the car, and so this was coming up, but it took me a while to get to this point, and I'll tell you the reasons why. And finally the car is at the shop and there's a team working on it, and which is why we are shooting this video from my Subaru STI. So I think this is the perfect place from where I can give you a summary and update of where I am, and I'm also okay to share the diagnostics of the problems and what we did to fix it and where we are right now, so that if you have the same problem, uh, you could do the same. So first thing first, so I didn't want to just give the car to a shop, a random shop that may or may not be able to fix the problem. I wanted to little bit probe around and find a good shop that can work on it, who has enough experience. And it's not a very easy job. Like, opening up the motor is probably easier, but putting it back together needs a lot of skill and very clean and organized work, or you might be missing parts, and that'll cause problems maybe 5-10,000 miles down the road. And I needed to have that confidence on that shop that is opening it up, because it's going to cost a lot of money, probably like around $8,000 to $9,000, to get everything under the hood renewed and make it solid. And so I wanted to make sure I give that money to the right place and the person working on it does a good job. So what I did was, like, I took it to Facebook, and I put up an ad for the car with a picture of it in the marketplace, and said, like, hey, not selling, but I need help, somebody to change the valve stem seals, and who can help me out, or can anybody recommend a good mechanic. So what happened was, like, a lot of people who do not read the post properly, not my fault, and what they did was like, oh, what's wrong with the car, we're gonna buy it, like, how much you want? I'm like, no, I'm not selling. I just need a reference for a good mechanic if you're into this car, and if you can recommend somebody who's comfortable working on a JDM car. This is a US NA car, but like, still, on the Japanese cars, then just let me know. I just need a good contact. And somebody tipped me off about a garage pretty close to my home. It's like maybe 10 miles, and I thought I'll just go and pay a visit and check it out. And when I went to their shop, I could see they had many cars with motor out, and they were restoring some very old cars, and they were working on newer cars too. And that gave me the confidence that these guys actually know what they're working on, and they'll be able to handle the process end to end. So I did speak with a few other garages too, and they were good, reputable garages. But the problem was, like, they were okay to do the diagnostics, and anything outside the motor that needs replacement or fixed, they're willing to do it, but they were not comfortable working on the heads and doing the machine work and all that stuff. And as a customer, I didn't want to go to 5 different places to get different things done. One shop does the diagnostics, the other one takes the heads out and does remachining and all that stuff. And because every shop would want to do its own diagnostics before they work on it, they are not going to take somebody else's diagnostics and work on it, and I don't want to pay for diagnostics every time I go to a different shop. So I wanted a shop that can do the job end to end, and I'm willing to pay for it. But again, as a customer, I prefer you start the work, take the responsibility, and finish it. You do the diagnostics, you can go as far as we have to go, I'll pay for it, but you have to do the job. So finally I found this place, and they said, like, yes, they work with certain machine shop, and they'll help redo the heads and everything, and they can take care of complete rebuilding of the machine. So, but they said, like, that will be the last resort, opening up the motor and taking the heads out and doing everything. But before that, they would like to just do what do you say, scan or diagnostics at a high level, and make sure everything else is in order before they get into the machine, because sometimes it can happen. There are certain small problems that can cause a blue smoke, and they wanted to make sure, rule out all those smaller things that can be fixed without taking the motor out of the car. So the reason why I'm sharing this, because the diagnostics that we did for the first time, okay, there's a second diagnostics too that will come in the next video, but for this video I'll share you the first diagnostics this shop did for me. So I live in Mountain House, California. If you're in and around and you need details about this shop, send me a message. I'm happy to share details with you. So these guys, they did the first round of diagnostics, and you may have seen the blue smoke coming out of my car in the previous video. And so their diagnostics said, where is the, okay, spark plugs were found loose, valve cover gasket are leaking, and oil is going into the spark plug tube, causing blue smoke due to oil in cylinders. Air cleaner to valve cover hose was disconnected. That was a problem. So even though this is not the end solution, but it actually worked, and this diagnosis was correct and accurate because it was evident from the smog results. So I'm gonna tell you how. So, but before, let me share some more details. What did they do is, obviously they did the diagnostics that costed like $110. Then they replaced spark plugs, that was like $220. Positive crankshaft ventilation valve, replaced PCV valve R&R, that was like another $44. Then valve cover gasket, replaced left bank, that was like $176, and for the right bank $110. Then there was spark plugs, that was like NGK iridium plug, that was like $75. Then ignition wire set, that was another $78. And the valve cover gasket, it was $84. PCV valve $19. A sea foam to clean up the fuel system, so $14. And I think that's pretty much it. So I can show a picture of what parts were replaced, and I'll post a picture here on the right top, and you can look at it. So this is what was done, and after they did all of this thing, I took the car for smoke test, and last time the carbon the emissions were like almost 4 times over the limit, and after this change my hydrocarbons was below average. And before that my hydrocarbons in the smoke test were like 4 times the max. That is a lot of hydrocarbons. So what this diagnostic said totally makes sense. They replaced all this and fixed it. Now my hydrocarbons is below average, and this is for a car from 1995. It's a super old car, like 27 years old, and it's working fine, I guess. And I know I changed the O2 sensors and everything like 5 years back, so they're not that bad. So everything is making sense right now, but the smog still failed for 2 reasons. So if you look at the previous video, you can see there's a lot of smoke coming out every time I rev the engine. But right now, after this diagnostic happened and after this fix, I get smoke only the first time when I rev the engine, and after that I don't get any more. It just comes only once, but it's not a huge amount of smoke, but it is still there. It's visible, which is why it failed, number 1. And number 2, my nitrous oxide emission is pretty high. It's like 395 or something, and that also caused the smog test to fail. Now NO emissions are high, and the engine produces NO when I believe the temperature inside the cylinders goes above 2500 Fahrenheit. But my car is not overheating, so I have coolant, enough coolant, and I have driven the car almost like 300 miles after everything was fixed. And during those 300 miles, it was not 300 miles in one stretch. I probably did 50 miles, then 100 miles, and then I did another couple of 50 miles, and that's how it was not. But at any point of time, it did run for continuously like 1 hour. So that is enough time for the car to overheat. and it was absolutely cool as a cat. There was no problem. It's just that I'm getting high temperatures inside the cylinder. And what so yes, so those are the two problems that needed to be fixed: high nitrous oxide, and the second problem is that smoke that I get it on the first time I rev the engine. So I'll take a pause here and play a video to show you how the smoke situation looked like after this first round of diagnostics and fixes. So watch out this video and I'll continue right after that. Okay, now that you have seen this video, you can already see it made a big difference in terms of appearance. I know it didn't help me pass the smoke test entirely, but it did address the hydrocarbons problem. So if you have a similar problem, I think this is the bare minimum check that you can do at your home. Like, look for any oil leak from the valve cover and make sure your spark plugs are clean and they're not loose and there's no oil getting through that. And these are the basic things I believe all you car guys could have done at home. Even I could have done at home. I'm not a car guy, but I could have, I think, done this at home, but I just didn't have enough time. Like my channel name says, all the things. I'm into too many things. I paint, I play music, I'm into cars a little bit. I have a day job, I have a super active child, and I just don't have the time for everything. So some of the things I do when it comes to replacing parts or installing a brand new shiny part, I do it, but sometimes I don't have time. So this is a very bare minimum diagnostics that any of you who have a problem, a blue smoke problem, and you are not sure if it's something to do with the valve stem seals and maybe something else, then I think this is something that you can definitely check. Look for any oil leak from the gaskets, look for the spark plugs, and make sure it's not oily and greasy and everything is super clean. And even if you still have the problems, then probably it's the valve stem seals. And all of you guys who commented on the previous video where I showed the problem, you, without any diagnostics, you guys were 100% accurate. You said it's valve stem seals. I had that problem, I had to fix it, and all of your diagnostics is 100% accurate. But as a mechanic, he has to do his own diagnosis, right? Like, so that's the reason he first did this exterior diagnosis without going inside the motor, and later on he did the diagnosis with probes and everything, and which I'll tell you in the next video what happened there. But this is something that he had to do, and this is called the basic tune-up. And so he did the tune-up. This whole tune-up costed me $987. So parts was $300, $660 of labor. There's a hazmat fee of $4 and some tax and blah blah blah, and it was like almost $987. So that's what it was. This diagnosis that addressed the problem at a certain extent, and I wouldn't say this was a total waste, and I think it was useful. So the reason I'm posting this video is, like, if you guys own a 3000 GT and you also probably have blue smoke problem, before you open up the motor, please do this basic minimum things and check. Maybe this is your problem. If this doesn't solve, this is something you can do in your backyard, then probably you ask somebody to replace the valve stem seals and do all of that stuff. And if I would have done this thing myself, I could have saved myself $1,000, and I didn't. So I paid the price, which is I'm okay with, because I don't have the time, and that's why I wanted to share this. And all right, so now the shop is in the car, and I have another diagnosis report ready. I'll post it in the next video. And in the meantime, I decided, I was thinking like what could be the next interesting project for that car. So I have like some 2-3 ideas. So the combat wing that I have, it's the aftermarket one that I got from Russia. Somebody in Russia on eBay, he makes and sells it for like $500. He was kind enough to give me a rebate for $400, and I bought it for 400. So it's pretty much just the same as replica. But what happens if you go and read the 3SI forum for aftermarket combat wings, you will find that around 70 miles per hour the wing starts to flap very violently, and it's scary, like at what point it's gonna fly over and go hit somebody else. I want to fix that problem. I have 2 ideas for it. I'll share it in the one of the next videos. And apart from, but I still don't have the car, so I can't start that project. But there's something that I can work on. So I grabbed a very good, beautiful unit of digital climate control. Almost looks brand new. It came from UK. Somebody was selling it. It was a little expensive, but in that condition I would buy it. So I got that. Here's a picture of that. And I also got the computer. And last weekend I took a trip to one of the junkyards, and I got almost all the parts that we need for converting the manual climate control into the digital climate control. So in the junkyard I found a 92 SL, and I was able to get almost every single part except just one servo motor that controls the vent opening, the vent selection motor. That I couldn't get to because I had to drop the steering column, and I didn't have enough time to do that. The place was like 100 miles away, and it was my day off, and it was last Friday when I did that. And on the way back I knew I'm gonna hit the Friday traffic in the Bay Area, and that will kill me. I was on my STI, so it's gonna be clutch and accelerator, clutch, accelerator, first gear all the way home. So I had to hurry, and so I couldn't retrieve the last servo, but everything else I got. I'll try to see if somebody on Facebook who has their dashboard taken off can give me that motor, and I'll try to buy it from them. So I think I got pretty much everything. I'm gonna post that video later tonight or tomorrow after I post this one. And do check it out and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any helpful tips for me for fixing these problems, do share. Or if you have a question, you need more details about what I shared, please let me know, and I'm happy to share it with you. All right, thank you.